Imaj, can you hear me?
Hello, Mr. Amit. Good morning.
Hey, how are you, Imaj?
Good. How are you? Thanks for uh, agreeing to this meeting, and within a short time we could schedule something out.
No, not a problem. So, Manoj, what I want you to do is for next 10 minutes or so, if you can tell me about yourself, give me your little bit about your background. I have your questions, but I want to hear more about what are your what are you going through and questions and anything that you want to ask. Then we can go over there. Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So yeah, I'm Manoj. So I finished my bachelor's in mechanical engineering from India. I graduated in 2017. So after my bachelor's, I joined Missouri University of Science and Technology for a master's program, and I worked with for the master's program. It was a thesis track, so I worked with my professor, whom with I'm currently working for my PhD as a thesis advisor. So during my master's, I worked on composite materials. So we had to like come up with new techniques to like decrease the weight issues and like using of composite materials in space exploration applications. So we had a small NASA project to do that. So like during my master's, so I was totally working with respect to how composites are manufactured, how we can analyze them in terms of mechanical characterization and simulations. So in the like when I was doing my master's, I was kind of like focused only on this area. But towards the end of my master's, like my professor like offered me to extend this master's into a PhD program. So that's when I was like initially I had an idea of completing my master's here and then working for a couple of years or more and then doing a PhD. I always had a like impression of doing a PhD from like relatively better university, but since like this door has opened me like with this opportunity, I thought like I would save like 1 or 1.5 years of time if I continue my master's plus PhD in the same university, so that I need not start from the scratch again, going to a new university, new environment, new professor, new work. So I finished my master's with thesis in May 2019. And right after that, I started working towards my PhD. So like during my PhD, like mostly I started working with respect to 3D printing of metals, composite materials, and polymers. So right now, like I'm working on two funded projects. So one is with Army Research Lab. So there, what I basically do is we are trying to replicate what happens in terms of a real-time machine in terms of 3D printing of a high-strength stainless steel. So I'm trying to model that in a software. Initially, like we wrote like our own codes, but that was taking too much time. So now we are working with a commercial software, trying to track down melt pools, see how the simulation matches with the experimental data, and what can we predict about the characteristics of this particular metal. And in other project, I'm working basically on 3D printing of lattice structures using metals. So this is with Spirit Aerosystems and also Stratasys Direct. So these is like Stratasys Direct is our materials partner. So they provide us with they're developing some alloys with some company. So they want us to test that material. So we come up with like test schemes, what type of tests can be done on the cellular structures and how we can use these cellular structures in replacing conventional solid metals and stuff like that. Apart from that, like I also do non-funded projects. So it is basically purely based on my professor's research interest and what we usually work on. So we then want to like leave out composite materials out of our scope. So we are also working with a company called Impossible Objects, which is based in Chicago. So it's a startup. Basically they 3D print composite materials, but it's a chopped fiber, it's not continuous. So what we basically are trying to do is, if we use composite molds to like make composite panels and compare this with the traditional metal molds and see how it reduces or increases warpage in parts we manufacture. So that is one of the other study I'm working on currently. So these are the like three active projects I'm working on. And during this master's plus PhD, I've done courses with respect to design, FEA, composite materials, advanced composite materials, and some polymer courses, as well as material science courses like SEM, as well as advanced materials for like additive manufacturing of metals. So, and also I basically worked with people from chemistry department as well as material science department. I have some background in chemical analysis like FTIR and stuff like that. and I have like some basic experience with SEM and TEMs too. Like I hope to, like, I'm trying to finish my thesis now. I'm done with all my courses, and for the past 2 years, I've been teaching a course called Mechanical Instrumentation Lab for the undergrads. So in that course, we basically teach the undergrads with respect to how different circuits can be operated for data acquisitions, record the frequency, how to write basic LabVIEW programs. And so that is basically like out of what we do as a specialization, but that's a department like requirement. So that thing I do parallelly. So I am like currently focusing on like publishing papers with respect to like the projects I'm working on. So I work on these projects simultaneously, and I'm trying to like get some like good valid results that I can publish. And I'm looking at graduating in this December if everything goes well. So I'm trying to like take my comprehensive this summer or by the end of June, and then I can graduate in December. So that's my plan. So before I get to that, like I wanted to know like what is that I'm missing, or what is that I can improve with respect to being employable. So because I don't, apart from a small internship that I did in my undergrad, I don't have any like professional experience with respect to like working in the industry, let's say in a realistic scenario. Like I work with company projects, like in the university level, like when you're working with the company projects or federal funded projects, like let's say your reach to the problem statement will be limited. Like they'll tell you like what to do, or we propose like what we are going to do, and we stick to that. But we don't know like what is happening in a bigger picture. So like I tried to like apply for certain internships and co-op positions. Like I had a chance to go to LA last summer, but because of my project commitments, and I couldn't like be on site, so that's why I should have let it go. And right now I'm also like applying for any remote internships or something I can work from here, as well as so that I don't mess up my dissertation, as well as I want to like get some realistic experience with terms of working on real-time projects. So I started applying for some summer internships. So I wanted to like get your insight on what I can do in terms of improving my resume. Like I started like getting my resume ready like since last year.
I
So
think I
it took a
got,
while.
yeah, I got a good idea. So
Yeah.
let me ask you a couple of questions
Yeah.
before I deep dive in here. Is my understanding based on what you're talking is uh, you're looking at jobs in industry rather than more on academics. If I
Yes.
right.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And then also I think what I understood is, are you are you question is your question more about what type of industry should I look for, or you know that pretty much, or you are more, your question is more about how can I be more employable?
Yeah, so it's basically a mix of two. So I know like what type of industries I have to apply, but like I mean,
Like
when
for
I
example,
look at
if I have to
certain,
ask you, give me top 2 or 3 companies that you look for, you would like to work for, and also what positions those would be, like the title and the
Mhm.
companies, what comes to your mind?
So like I always wanted to work in a company that does both mechanical as well as some part of things on a computer. So I saw certain job descriptions at Aris Composites where they have like lead composite engineer or a composite scientist. So
Okay.
they have, so they can be that like decision maker in terms of what materials can we do, what materials we cannot do, and they can like guide some people who don't have like much knowledge on in terms of that materials. And also I would like to work in a place where I get to like do the decision making skills. Like this materials work with when you're trying to print so and so, you can use this material. So I want to like work as a uh,
So again, my question is very specific. Tell me company and the title.
okay.
I mean, because
So
when I graduated, I want to work for ExxonMobil. That was my dream company.
okay,
So be specific so I know like what you're thinking.
so I want to like be the like I mean I don't have any like particular position I'm looking at.
No, but there should be some companies, right, where you're saying, okay, based on what I learned, based on what I know, and this is the company that I would like to work for, right? or
Okay.
you don't have that?
I mean, right now I don't have like any idea like how to get to that.
Okay. I mean, what okay, I think I understand your point, but I think I think if I understood, if I summarize it, your questions are more about uh, the uncertainty that is going to come after you graduate, and jobs and all that. I think that's what I understood, if I'm not wrong. Correct?
Yeah, I mean, right now, like I'm in such a position that like I do, I know like some positions when I read the job descriptions, yeah, I think I fit in well, but is my resume saying that, or what should I include
Yeah,
in terms of?
yeah. So I will give you the pros and cons on both sides, both ends, right? So as far as your resume and your skill set comes in, right? I would say, in my opinion, and especially in today's COVID, where most of the companies are also looking for people who are which are heavily skilled, I think, in more in computer simulation sort of stuff, in my opinion. I mean, it's required that you might know some lab work, but if you have proficiency in some simulations, that's always good. And the reason I'm saying is, because I have seen that in my case. I when I did my PhD, it was very experimental. I am not good in computational. I was always lab work, hands on. And what happened is, after this COVID and now, I realized it was not working in my favor. And people who had computational background skill set, the work came very handy to them. And so I see that as a positive.
Yeah,
But at the same time, I would also tell you is, the type of skill set that you have, or the type of work you have done, it's not very unique, very distinct, which I don't think is a bad news, because then you can do you are able to do lot of things, lot of you will be eligible for a lot of jobs in different technologies. Like, for example, the way I see it, and I say this to all students: don't get too much fascinated about, oh, I have done this in my PhD, or this in my research, and this is what I want to do. Because what happens is, as you go down the road, you realize that there are a lot of other great things that you can do, and you would
yeah,
like to do. So yeah, of course, your first job will come, what you have, what a skill set you have. But there are ways to figure it out. So, for example, I will give you a very a general example. Let's say, if you are extremely good in ANSYS, you know how to use ANSYS, right? And you have used ANSYS in design of an alloy, let's say. That does not mean that only the companies who are looking, who design alloys, or like Carpenter or Haynes, those are the companies that are you will be employable to only those companies.
okay,
In my opinion, a person who knows ANSYS is, it's something like ANSYS. If you know a software, it's like a skill that you have, right?
yes,
And then you can apply that skill in any areas possible that you can. You can apply that in aerospace, you can apply them in space, automotive, design of an alloy, a design of a bridge, a structure, whatever possible.
yeah,
It does not matter, right? Yes, of course, your background is going to affect that, because if you are a mechanical engineer, how would you understand the physics and mechanics of a bridge? That's such a separate story. But what I'm saying is, your skill set will come very handy.
okay,
So So the reason why I say so is because when you are making your resume, you can be very specific about your resume and your interest, but you can also can have a resume where it is much broader. It speaks about your skill set, and and how you can be a person that can solve a problem using these tools, no matter what it is.
Okay.
And then you can talk about different problems in different areas that you have solved, right?
Okay.
Because that's what makes any person more employable, in my opinion. If you have a problem solving skill based on your knowledge and skill set, that's what essentially you would do in any company.
Yeah.
Yes, your background will affect that. That okay, you are a mechanical engineer. How can you solve a problem which are electromagnetic? Because you don't, that doesn't make sense, right? That is separate. But as far as you, like for example, a lot of students who have background in data science or whatever, right? All those things that people use these days, or try to use to solve problems. It's the same thing with them too. Like for example, some person knows MATLAB and knows how to solve. You can use MATLAB and solve the problems. The second part of your question is internship and all that. In my personal opinion, I would say I don't I my personal advice would be is finish your first draft of your thesis and then worry about all those things.
Okay.
Because what happens if you are getting too much distracted on that side, uh, uh, your thesis can extend another 6 months.
Yeah.
So my personal opinion is finish your first draft. Put your right now, if you can, your whole all your energy you should have to put in on finishing your thesis. That's all I.
Okay.
So finish the first draft, because the first draft is the most difficult one. Like 90% of the work is the first draft. After then it will be corrections here and there, and then you will have much more free time to say, okay, let me look for an internship, let me look for a job, and whatever you want to do.
Okay.
So finish your first draft, give it to your professor, and let him or her read it, and then you can focus on, okay, so what I would like to do. And as an
Okay.
international student, you also have to worry about then the visas and all the other problems. So what I'm saying is, there you would be lucky if you find a job immediately.
Yes.
You would be lucky, because I was not able to. I had to figure it out. So what I did is I basically joined a postdoc, because at that time I was thinking I might go in academics and all that. But the biggest problem is, if I didn't have a postdoc, I have to leave, right? That's the biggest fear. So as a PhD student, unlike masters, you have also an option to have a postdoc. So always have plan A and plan B,
Okay.
right? So your plan A could be, I will apply, I will do my best to apply in an industry and see what happens. And plan B would be, let me look for a postdoc too, right?
Okay.
And let's say if you are able to get a postdoc from a good university, um, stay as a postdoc, if you would like. You always have an OPT, which will allow you to still look for a job and join whenever you want. You understand my point?
Yeah.
But I personally feel that don't make that mistake unless and until you have an obligation to go back to India and all that, and switch from OPT to H1 visa or something when you are in academic. When you are a postdoc, don't make that mistake, because what will happen is then you will have to wait for that March 1st, which is today or yesterday, and then wait for that cycle to happen. And then
Yeah.
because job can come anytime, you know what I mean? So
Yes.
just don't make that mistake, because then what will happen is the only way for you to get out of that vicious cycle is if you have a green card. And that's, I have gone through that. That's what I'm saying. So make sure you don't do that mistake. And you can be on OPT, have, be in postdoc for 6 months or a year, and then if you, and keep applying if you want, and I'm pretty sure you will find a job, um, and join it. Because what happens is important for you to have a job. Otherwise you have to leave the country and all that. So just be out that. So what I'm saying is you can, and if you, let's say for example, if you decide not to have a plan B, or not to have a option, another option, and let's say if you are not able to find a job, then I have also seen students to scramble up and then just join something they don't want to. So if you don't want to be in that situation, I would say just prepare. And for postdoc in particular, I would say I will highly advise you to talk to your advisor and tell him about what that you would be interested in that too. And because he or she will be the best person for you to find it out, that a postdoc, because postdoc is very what could I say, very informal. It's not like a faculty position where you have a selection committee and all that. Postdoc is like, I know a friend and you know a friend, and you say, hey, I have a student. That's good. That's how it works.
Yeah.
If you're gonna apply on your own, it's a little bit tough. Then if there is a referral where people know someone, or if you know someone through a conference or something, that would be the best way.
Okay.
Yeah. And also I saw you, one of your question was for national lab. So there are two types of labs, right? You have a DOE labs, which are Department of Energy. So that will be Oak Ridge National Lab and Pacific Northwest and Brookhaven. Those are DOE labs, Department of Energy. And then DOD labs will be Sandia and Lawrence Livermore. So don't apply to DOD labs because you have to be a green card or I guess citizenship for that. But DOE labs, you would be okay. Like for example, Oak Ridge and PNNL. There are two N, PNNL.
Yeah. And what was the other one?
Brookhaven. It's in New Jersey, I think, somewhere. But Oak Ridge National Lab, if you go to just Google it, Oak Ridge National Lab postdoc career, there's a dedicated website, and you can apply for, if you find any postdoc positions, just go and apply. If your advisor knows someone, ask his or her help.
Okay.
Because because national labs are good one too, because they pay you much more than what university pays. Like university as a postdoc, they pay you 45,000. I don't know if you get lucky, probably you get 50,000. But
Okay.
national labs pay you 70, 80, something like that,
Okay.
which is very equivalent to I guess as you join as a PhD, any job in industry, to be honest. So what I'm saying is like that's another option too. And what happens is if you're a postdoc in a national lab, if you get lucky, you might get hired. But if not, as I still say, you will have chance to work there and then still able to find a job.
Yeah. So like when you're like talking about this postdoc after PhD, like does it come under a job or does it come under education? I mean, I didn't get that.
I mean, that's not a degree.
Okay. So it is still under OPT, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's not a degree. I mean, your PhD is the highest degree. You're done with that. Postdoc is a
Okay.
job. It's like
Okay.
it's like, for example, it's research assistantship is when you do PhD. I think it's more like research associate, scientist type of a job thing. So yeah.
Okay.
But it would have a limited term, 2 or 3 years, limited term.
Okay.
It won't be forever. And I mean, to be honest with you, you don't want to do postdoc forever. It's basically for you to take a break from PhD and say, you know what I want to do now. And somebody's paying you to do that, to be honest. And then you are doing some research and all that, which is fine.
Okay.
And most people who do postdocs are those people who are thinking of going into academic also.
Yeah.
Because what happens is, what I'm saying is, if you, let's say you decide to do a postdoc and you get in postdoc in an extremely good university, let's say MIT or Stanford, I would say then you will see that there are other doors that are open where I say, okay, now I have option to go for an academic also, and then also to industry, because the industry you can go anytime you want, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is have multiple options open, right?
Okay.
So just as I said, if you're looking for an industry position, I would say apply with and look, apply rigorously and try to see try to put your resume. But also I will tell you is, don't, when you are going, don't go half-hearted, because once your resume is out there, what you will find is, initially you are getting a lot of response and things like that, but at the time pass goes on and on and on, and if your resume is there for 4 or 5 months or 6 months, then you will find that you're not getting any response. And don't do a mistake of just applying to a company, as I said, without doing your homework, because once it goes to an HR sees it, and if they have reviewed it, and let's say if there another positions comes up which you think is much better for you and you are a better candidate, most likely they are not going to review your resume again.
Okay.
So many people do this mistake, say, hey, this job, I don't think I fit in, but let's apply, right? And you apply. And then there's another one where you say, okay, this is the much better one.
Okay.
So just avoid doing such mistakes, and read through what they are looking for, like basic qualification. When you read a job profile, they have like basic qualification, desired qualification. Read through that and really see how much you really qualify.
Okay.
Right. And if you find someone where this whatever they're looking for, you are the one, just make sure you have a very good cover letter explaining why they should hire you. Right.
Okay.
So that's how it has to be.
Okay.
Okay. And also always aware of that, for an international student, there are always going to be an issue with visas, with ITAR and all that. And you can't do anything about that. You have to go through that process. Like anybody went through, all the international students go through.
Yeah.
So, there is no question, there is nothing anybody can do towards that. Yeah. We have been through the same struggle, and that's how the process is. So the only best thing you can do is, I would say, minimize the failure by having more and more options. That's why I tell you, always has options.
Okay.
Right. And just do the right thing. And also I would say, if once you get into a postdoc or something, and if you think you have a better resume and you have a good papers and citations and things like that, just apply for your green card, get a lawyer, get a green card. If you are thinking of staying here.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to an industry, I would say do the same thing again. Talk to the company HR and try to get your green card as soon as possible. And always, since you are a PhD, don't never ever apply for EB2. Always go for EB1.
Okay.
Because that is the only way you can get your green card in a year or so. Otherwise, you will never gonna get it. And only a PhD student can do it.
Like, is everyone eligible for EB1, or are there like some kind of, because I've read through some articles.
You are eligible if you have a PhD. You are going to get it or not is based on what the content you have.
Oh, okay.
Eligible, you become eligible.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is, whether you are going to get it or not is based on how much meat you have in your CV.
Okay, that depends on the profile.
Right. So what I'm saying is, just go to the website on USGIS, which talks about these.
Yeah.
And you will realize that it's not that easy right away. Hey, I had to get to another meeting, but Manoj, nice talking to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Like I've learned few things, and I'll try to, like you said, I'll try to like get done with my first draft first, and then.
Yeah. I mean, that's more important, to be honest with you. Get done with the studies first. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Manoj.
Thank you.
But nice talking.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah.
Bye.